Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about random numbers, and basically we use two library functions to generate random numbers, srand and rand. Okay, srand is to seed the random number sequence. The computer is really good at generating sequences of numbers, and in this case a sequence of random numbers, but it needs a starting number, just any number to start that sequence. And here I've hard-coded a 0. I'm telling you what not to do, how not to seed a sequence. But basically, when you seed a sequence with a hard-coded number, be it 0 or 1 or whatever, what you get are pseudo-random numbers, like not really random numbers. I got a 38, okay, which is fine, that's a random number, but if I were to end this program and run it again, I'd get a 38, and then a 38, and I'd keep getting a 38. So it's random the first time, but then every other time it's not random. So you don't want to seed your sequence with a hard-coded value. Instead, it's more common to seed your random numbers against the system clock. Okay, and in order to do that, we're going to use the time function. That's going to retrieve the time from the system clock, really a long integer representing the time on the system clock, not the time as we're accustomed to reading it. But in any case, in order to use that time function, you have to include the ctime header file up at the top. So that's why I have that up there. But so now if I seed the random number sequence against the system clock, that number, that time number, is changing millisecond to millisecond. So you're never going to get the same number, and you're always going to have a different seed for your sequence, and therefore you're going to get real, genuine random numbers. So with that in mind, let's look at a die roll example. Okay. And I have a variable called die roll, and I'm using the rand function. You think of the rand function. Once the sequence is seeded with srand, you just use the rand function. You think of that as like a little machine that's going to spit out any random number. Okay, so what you're going to get, and you saw when I ran the program, I got a 38 out of rand. If you want to isolate numbers in a range, you have to use the modulus operator. So for a die roll, for example, I want only 6 possibilities, 1 through 6. So if I use modulus on whatever random number I get, if I do mod 6, that's going to get me random numbers 0 through 5. Remember, the modulus operator returns the remainder of a quotient. Okay, so if you do mod 6, you're going to get any remainders 0 through 5, okay? But for the die roll, I want 1 through 6, so I'm going to offset by 1. So this is a very typical way to get random numbers in a range here, is to use your modulus operator and then an offset, typically by 1. And there you go. So it's going to tell me what I rolled. That random number, that random die roll is going to go into die roll. And here I've done a loop to do 10 die rolls. Again, using the same technique there. I just plopped it right into the output stream. So let's go ahead and run the code. See if we get our real random numbers. Okay, so this first number was that line of code, this line of code here, where I just generated any random number, didn't do anything else with it. The first time I got a 38, now I'm getting this other big number. For the die roll, I rolled a 4. Okay, and here are 10 die rolls. You can see they're all 1 through 6.